Okay, it looks like we are live. Hopefully. Hopefully we're live. Let me turn my gain down. Because I've been making a lot of noise low key without realizing it. Yes, we live. We live for sure. Wait, hopefully, I hope my audio doesn't sound messed up. Let me check. Cause it was doubling last time, and I don't even know. Oh yeah, that's why. I feel like I still got a little bit of echo. I got my mic here on the right, and my computer and everything set up on the left, cause this might be picking up sounds. I'm just gonna finish setting up. Sorry I was late. Had an issue with my camera. My camera was not trying to stream today. Let me sit like right here. Let me get the stuff set up. Okay, let me get the tic-tac-toe box out. Start at yeah, word. I just went to Dunkin' Donuts. Got these $2 Dunkin' Donuts refreshers. It's so good, and the sugar it won't kill me. So I think 1:30 is a good time to start. We're gonna be doing the tic-tac-toe thing for a bit with React.js, and then we're gonna get into if I see any questions about, I don't know, maybe I'll just tell y'all about life, work, and all that kind of stuff. I'm still getting used to streaming though. It's still mad weird, not like editing out stuff. Unfortunately, I did most of this in the stream that was not public. We just made like a little home page and then added some styling for the rows and columns of the tic-tac-toe board. And how does it look now? I forgot, how do we get to, I think I have to do like, where's my terminal? Let me do this here. So React isn't, it's a language that I have worked with a lot, like both in work and outside of work. I did this internship. My first ever software engineering internship was with React.js. I learned this, actually let me switch the screen, I just realized you can't see what I'm looking at. React.js was a language that I worked with in my first software internship. I was like, whoa, I don't know what to do. And then they were like, oh, we're gonna use React.js to build this website that is gonna be used on computers, on phones, and on iPads. And React was like a great library at the time for that because it's really easy to build like flexible layouts that are responsive on multiple devices. And there was a lot like I didn't understand because React has a lot of like, there's a lot of interesting parts to it. But the most important thing is the idea of components, that you have these little building blocks that you use to build larger structures. Like in tic-tac-toe here, I'm gonna quickly go back to the code. We have components of the game. We have the square, which is like where the symbol either X or O will go into. We have the board, which is gonna be here. We're rendering all the squares individually to render this entire board. And then the game is gonna take in the board as a component. So it's kind of like really intuitive to think about it, especially if you're designing something that is like a large structure or some kind of really big thing. Breaking it down into chunks that you can better visualize is what React is based off of. Let me go back. I need to figure out how to actually restart this on the website. Oh yeah, thank you all again for 2,000 subscribers. I feel like I should keep saying that because I'm still like mad thankful for 1,000 subscribers, low key. It's kind of wild how my channel has been growing lately, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm looking for where to start the application again. I'm looking for the command that lets you tutorial. I think we're gonna get started in a little bit. It's 1:30, yep. I feel silly. Yeah, Ned, when you said 2.09K, wait, really? Dang. I don't even, oh, right here, this is what I was looking for. Open source/index.js. Where's the line that we're gonna use to, if you're looking at it, browser, open this code in a new tab. Source index.js. It's some command that you use to, nope, that's not it. But yeah, I'm very thankful for every person that either subscribes or just watches for a few minutes or just even even like tells my channel to other people, like, yo, check this dude out. He be doing stuff. All of that, I really appreciate. Yo, I'm silly. How do I open this? I'm literally looking for one line. I'm just gonna Google it. So, when in doubt. npm run build. Are you ready to know? This is deploying the app to production. Oh, maybe it's npm run JS. Oh, yep, that is it, but I didn't. Okay. Oh, right here, npm start. Got it. Streaming's lit. I'm also using these streams as just to better get comfortable being in front of the camera consistently without any breaks or anything. I do want to get into streaming. Seriously, I do like kind of like the real-time engagement I can have with fans and just people that be tuning into the stream. It is just tough getting all the pieces set up correctly. So this is what we currently have as the part of the tic-tac-toe app. We still need to work on the styling, and we need to actually run the game because clicking this doesn't accomplish anything. For now, I'm going to be referring a lot to the tutorial here on the React web app. Of course, we're going to do a lot on our own, and I'll do my best, the best I can to describe the things that we're doing and why we're doing them. But there is going to be a lot of things that might not be best explained by me over the course of the stream because, you know, I'm trying to build it with you, and this is like me learning how to do it as well. So I really encourage you, if you're interested in React or you're just interested in learning more about web development or building a project from scratch, checking out the page right here for creating a rack. It's reactjs.org, and looking at the documentation here, because it's really, this documentation or this tutorial in general was built for people that they're assuming that you don't have any programming experience. It's built really well. They go really from start to end, and they don't assume that you have experience at all. So again, I recommend checking that. So right now we have this little game. The next step is, let's look at what's next here to do. Let me close this and make sure the camera's here and I'm focused. Nice. So we're gonna go back to the tic-tac-toe. All right. So right here, we've gotten this. And what we did here, I'll do a little recap of what we did before. So again, we took these squares. The square is like our first and our smallest component of this app. And the square here is basically just an HTML element called button, which is something that we're gonna use to click to, for each player to put an X or a O. It's a button, and inside of this is something called a prop. A prop is basically a parameter in React.js. It's something that you'll pass in a value for it, so that when it gets rendered, and here it's going to get rendered on the board, we're passing in 0. So 0 is the prop value here, meaning that this square is going to get rendered and it's going to have a value of 0, and it's going to show, like, it's going to have the 0 character, and likewise for numbers 0 through 8. So where we pass in this prop here for it to get rendered here. And if this board had a prop passed in here, we'd have to pass it in the game because it's using the board element. You see how this board is empty? That's because there's no the this.props value statement there. So now we're gonna make it interactive, meaning that when we click on the button, it's gonna do some kind of function for us. So if you see here in the example, making an interactive component, let's fill the square component with an X when we click it. First, we change the button tag that is returned from the squares component render function to this. So right now, the button doesn't do anything. But this button element, usually when you put in a value, usually when you create a button element, you also pass in an on-click function. An on-click function means that when it's clicked, you want it to do something. So that is exactly what we're gonna do here. We're gonna make this on-click function. Well, this is pretty known as a callback method, where it's like a function, but it's kind of like yeah, you know what? That's not even the point of this. Basically, this is just an on-click method that we're gonna use here. So I'm just gonna copy this, actually this whole thing, and we are going to make this part of our button element here. So this is just a test. This means that when we click it, we should get an alert on our page. So I'm gonna run the app right now, so we can see. I think it should have refreshed already. Yep. So you see here, localhost 3000 says click. That means that our function now has an on-click method. So if I click any one of these, they should all have it, because we're rendering, all of these components are the same because they all got passed in and rendered by our board. So they should all have this function no matter which one I click on. Okay. So now that we've done that, let's just go ahead. Click on the square now, you should see an alert in your browser. To save typing and avoid the confusing behavior of this, we will use the arrow function syntax for event handling. Okay, this is one of the, this is a kind of like a different form of syntax that you see a lot with recent versions of JavaScript and React as well. They use these parentheses and arrows to highlight functions with callbacks. I might be wrong. I mean, not callbacks, with event handlers, but you might see this a lot when you're working with React or JavaScript. Okay. So we're gonna do that. You don't have to do it right now, but I'll just do it. We're gonna click, and then with these parentheses, I think that's it. Oh no, I did something wrong. Oh, leave the parentheses here for the on-click, or the brackets. Let's look at our app now. It should be refreshed, so it should still work where it makes an alert every time it's clicked. So we know that our buttons have rendered the on-click method properly. So let's move ahead here. Here we're gonna work with something, a concept known as state, because when we're gonna be using our tic-tac-toe app, when we click on every square, once we place a symbol there, we want our component to kind of remember that that symbol is there, or we want that symbol to stay there for the length of the entire game. We don't want the symbol to go away at any point during our game, at least until the game is over. So this is something called state, and state is a concept in React that allows us to kind of bind certain values to a component that it's defined in, and it'll just stay there until we. Oh no, you can't hear me? Thanks for telling me. Can you hear me now? Oh, wow, I heard myself a lot. Oh, okay. That gain is a lot. All right. Thanks for telling me though, and thanks for joining the screen. That oracle. So here, React has a concept known as state, which allows us to bind values to our components for the length of the application. So React components can have state by setting this.state in their constructors. This.state should be considered private. It should be considered as private to a React component that it's defined in. Yeah, that means that you shouldn't usually access state from the from another component. It should usually just be constrained to where you're defining state. So we're going to store the current value of the square in this.state, and then change it. Wait, I'm a little too loud. And then we're going to change it whenever the square gets clicked. He said, no, it was me. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to add a constructor to the class to initialize the state. So we're going to do this here. This is the syntax usually when you're creating state, or whenever you have a constructor in general in a class. This super.props method is basically saying if any class, if this class inherits anything from React component, you want it to do the same thing that component does. I'm kind of like summarizing that, but you usually see that whenever you have a constructor in a class, you want it to do whatever it, you want it to do whatever kind of constructing methods that it's the class it's inheriting was doing. So I'm gonna just copy this here. Oh, and also this.state, we're defining it here, and we're setting value to null at first because it's not gonna have a value. But once we click it and we give it a value, it's going to save the value here. And oh, sorry, hold on 1 second. I have a technical difficulty. I'll be back in 2-3 minutes. Let me switch. I shall be back. Let me leave it on this. I am back. I am back. I'm sorry. Sorry, y'all. See, this is the thing. Streaming, like, oh man. You know what? It's all on me. Not even gonna blame nobody else. Wait, let me bring myself back. Why am I not in the picture? Stream, yeah, that's my B. I'm sorry, y'all. We're back now. So as I was last here, what we're gonna do is, the last thing we did was add the on-click function to the square. Oh, what's up, Rastro? How you doing? The last thing we do is we're gonna make this constructor method. And as I said before, whenever you're, oh, let me know if my keyboard is too loud. If you can hear it a lot in the microphone. I know I have this mechanical keyboard. I kind of like the sound of keyboards like tapping on the thing, but if it's too loud, let me know. I'll adjust it. Super props. Oh, sorry, we're passing in props here. And as I said before, this is whenever you make a superclass, or whenever you're making constructor method, you always want to have the same kind of constructor functions or the same setup as any class that Square is inheriting from. So after super.props, we're going to set the state. If I remember correctly, it's like this. And then we're going to set the value to null at the start before anything is ever. Did I do that right? Let's see. Yep, this.state equals. Yep. So this, we're gonna add the constructor to initialize the state, and then afterwards, oh, right here, it even explains it. You need to, I didn't know you need to, but here it says you always need to call super when defining the constructor of a subclass. All React components classes that have a constructor method should start with a super props call. I don't know if this is the same in other languages or libraries. It seems like it's enforced in React, but it's always good practice. When you have a constructor, call super props, meaning that always do what the superclass is doing before you add any kind of special stuff for the component that you're working on. Now we're going to change the square's render method to display the current state's value when clicked. What we're going to do here is we're going to replace this.props.value with this.state value inside the button tag. And then we're going to replace the on-click event handler. We're going to replace what's in there with this new function that's going to actually set the internal state of the component, meaning that we're going to bind the X value to our component. And we're going to put the class name and on-click props on separate lines for better readability. Okay, so after these changes, so okay, I'm going to try to do those changes now. So the first thing we're going to do is change this.props.value to this.state value. And then the next thing it said we're going to do is change the on-click function. Instead of doing an alert click, we're going to do a this.setState, which every component has. Every component has this function already set. We're going to set, I think it's a this thing, or not a this thing, a brackets, value X. And the last thing we're going to do is for better readability, because you usually want to like have different attributes on different lines, just so it's easier to read, not just for you, but for other developers if you're working on a project. And there's these things called linters, which are like special kinds of like scripts that are run on your code that will automatically adjust stuff to how everything is. Like, how do I explain this? There are like specific kind of like guidelines in code formatting that a lot of languages have. So a linter would probably automatically put these on separate lines because that's how like things are best readable. Like where you can just see, oh, quickly, oh, this is the class name and this is the on-click function. So after that, what was the other thing? I think that's everything. So it should look like this. Let me move this up here to match what it looks like. Let me know if I'm going too fast or if there's a specific question that you have and you want me to go over, and I can do that to the best of my ability. right here, let's go. So by calling this dot set state from an on-click handler in the square's render method, we tell React to re-render that square whenever its button is clicked. After the update, the square's this.state.value will be X, so we'll see the X on the game board. If you click on a square, an X should show up. Oh, Rastro said, hello the great. Hello to you too, Rastro. I didn't even see that. When you call set.state in a component, React automatically updates the child components inside of it too. Okay. So this, you can use the developer tools. We won't be doing that in the future. That is really good because it allows you to like directly see the React changes you make. It's a bit of a setup, so maybe in the next, in another stream, we can go over how to use this React Dev Tools extension for Chrome. Yeah, there's a few steps to do here. Okay, but we can kind of test. We can test it on our own to see what the state is. So on click, we can set the state value. Actually, what's the best way to show this? This dot set state. Actually, no. You know what? We'll test it once we finish the game, or as we continue going in the game. But currently, each square component maintains the game state. To check for a winner, we'll maintain the value of each of the 9 squares in one location. We may think that board should just ask for each square for the square's state. That means that like we should just be asking, like, because the board is composed of 9 squares, we need to make sure we're keeping track of all of them, because we need to make see if there's 3 in a row, meaning that if there's a diagonal match of 3 O's or X's, or vertical or horizontally, that's when someone wins. So for the game, we need to have some way of keeping track of whether or not we need to keep track of all 9 elements. And the first way we can do it is just keep asking each square for its current state, like what value do you have? But it does get tough to do it if you just do it one by one, because you'll need to check the state 9 times every single time someone makes a move. And that's just, it's possible, but this is one of the ways in software engineering where you have a method, but it's not the best way. And a lot of software engineering is optimizing and looking for the best solution to the problem, or at least a more efficient solution than the last one. Finder, got it. So the best way is to actually store the game state in the parent board component instead of in each square, meaning that we'll kind of like have a snapshot of what every square looks like every time a move is made, so that we don't need to actually individually check each square. Your stream only works at 480p quality. Thanks for telling me that. I don't know how to change. Let me try to change that. Stream setting. Oh, maybe I could change that on OBS. Noise muter? What is noise muter in OBS? Is that like is that something to help me like with the background noise? I would appreciate that if that's possible, because I know I have a bit of background noise because this Blue Yeti microphone is so sensitive, honestly. I'll probably have like not a compressor, some kind of mixer in future streams just to block out some of that outside noise. I don't see here where I can adjust the I'm trying to look at where I can change the Yeah, see here, there's a stream latency setting, but it won't let me adjust that from here. Maybe I have to do it from OBS. Yeah, see on my phone. Yeah, but thank you for pointing that out, because I was looking back on the last stream, and I was like, oh, the quality of this could be so much better. Like, I definitely want you guys to be able to experience this stream on the best possible quality that's available. So I don't know exactly where to go though for, okay. Oh, okay, so it says output here. Oh, someone's telling me the things. If you go use OBS, check setting, video, base resolution, and output resolution. Settings, video, base resolution. Oh, okay, so it seems that it looks like I have to turn off my output for a second. Ooh, thank you. You're giving me, I really appreciate this, honestly. Like, you're helping me out a lot here. I'm gonna turn everything off real quick. Hopefully it won't shut the stream down or anything. It says turn off outputs to change anything. Sorry for the little pause here, but I really do appreciate this. Thank you, Arca. I don't want to mispronounce it, but you're really giving me helpful tips on making this a better experience for everyone. It looks like I have to turn off my capture real quick. Oh man, it looks like, I don't know if I'll be able to change it. Okay, I think we're back now. Sorry, I had to stop the stream to get everything look. Can you guys hear me now? Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you all again for, thank you, Arca. I don't want to mispronounce your name, but I appreciate you giving me those tips. And anyone in the comments, like, feel free to let me know if there's something wrong with the sound, the video, and I'm still learning how to, obviously, I'm still learning how to really effectively stream, having a consistent video quality, or just a consistent stream that's going on throughout. Like, it is a work in progress, but I really do like doing this and getting to interact with you guys. So just let me know in the future if there's anything that you see me that is that could be improved. And again, I appreciate it. Thank you for those comments, and for also sticking around, because I was gone for like 15 minutes. It's looking good. Oh snap! Thanks, yo. I love it. It's looking much better. Oh my goodness! Wow. Everybody clap it up for our, I don't want to mispronounce your name, Arcov blog. You really did it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Those tips saved me. Wow. See, this is something I can't get in a video, like recording the video as opposed to like a stream. Like, you could tell me in real time how to change or how to improve. Like, you can't really get that in a recorded video. I'm glad the stream is looking much better. Yeah. All right, let's get back into it. So we last left off changing the value of state, and I was just talking about how you don't want to have to check all of your components. If there's 9 different components that you want to keep the track of the state of, it's better to have a parent component that is keeping track, that kind of like has some sort of snapshot of the state of all of your child components. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to store the state, or we're going to store the current state of the board, of the squares, inside of our board component. We're going to see how that is done here. This is going to be this section is called lifting state up. The board component can tell each square what to display by passing a prop, just like we did when we passed a number to each square. To collect data from multiple children, or to have two child components communicate with each other, you need to declare the shared state in their parent component instead. The parent component can pass the state back down to the children by using props. This keeps the child components in sync with each other and with the parent component. Lifting state into a parent component is common when React components are refactored. Let's take this opportunity to try it out. So here we're going to do the constructor again to the board, or we're going to add a constructor to the board this time, and we're going to set the board's initial state to contain an array of 9 nulls corresponding to the 9 squares. All right, so here we're doing the same thing. We're making a constructor, making sure we call it super props, and then the state is going to be here an array of 9 values, and fill means you're just going to fill is a method that you can put on an array to just fill all the values at once. So we're going to just fill it with null because we don't know what it's going to be. They're all going to start off as null. And this is a representation. This isn't actually what each square is, but at the start, we're going to have the board, David, Arc of Blog, say, "You are well done and explain well." Thank you. I'm also teaching JavaScript and React.js on YouTube. Wish you luck. Dang, that's dope. Thank you. I'm sure you can explain some of these concepts much better than I can, but I appreciate you checking out this stream. That's great, though. That's really great that you're doing that. I think React.js is definitely a great library for a lot of people to learn. So let's do this in the code. We're going to go to our board, and above here, we're going to have the constructor again, making sure we call super props. And then what are we going to do next is, that is something here. Oh, we have to pass in props. Forgot. Make sure the string looking good. Yep. Hopefully my camera doesn't bug out like last time. We're going to do this dot state. Here we are going to, I guess we can call it squares. Does it call it squares here? Yeah, squares. Equals an array of 9 values. We're going to make sure we fill all of them with null for now, with null values for now. Okay. Oh wait. Did I miss something? Oh, sorry, not equals. We have to use colons to refer to the state variables. So once we do that, we are good here. We're still going to have render square and render I as a value here. So trust me, we're going to get back to the app here. We're doing a lot of internal refactoring of our code, and we're adding different things that we can't immediately see yet, but trust me, it's going to look amazing when we see how every square is now going to be, the value of each square is going to be kept track of. We're going to get to that shortly. When we fill the board in later, the state.squares array will look something like this. Yep. So at every point, whenever we change it, when each of our players are going to be putting an X or an O, our array of different values is going to be filled here. And as you see here, it's separated in rows of 3. That looks just like our board. So the board's render square method currently looks like this. In the beginning, we passed the value prop down from the board to show numbers from 0 to 8 in every square. In a different previous step, we replaced the numbers with an X mark determined by the square's own state. This is why the square currently ignores the value prop passed to it by the board. We will now use the prop passing mechanism again. We will modify the board to instruct each individual square about its current value. X, O, or no. We have already defined the squares array in the board constructor, and we will modify the board's render square method to read from it. Sorry, that was a lot of reading here, but this is saying that we're going to use the prop mechanism here to pass down, to keep track of the state. So this is what it's called lifting state up, because we're taking in the state of the square value, and we're using it to give it the value here. if that makes sense. We're using the state. We're rendering the square with this state's value here. I think it'll make better sense like once we actually see it in practice, because I feel like I didn't understand how I said that. So I'm gonna use this state squares I. Each square will now receive a value prop that will either be X, O, or no for empty squares. Next, we need to change what happens when the squares click. The board component now maintains which squares are filled. We need to create a way for the square to update the board state. Since this state, all right, I understand that this might now be getting a little more in depth than I kind of wanted this to be, because keeping track of state and keeping track of like components, like it can be a lot more complicated than you would imagine building a tic-tac-toe game would be. But this is really how React works. It would be a lot harder to do this with a lot of other libraries, because React allows you to just, when you hear the word state, think of it like the current state of the game, like where enemies are, where the player is, player health. All of that is part of this big concept called state. And there's a lot of different ways to represent it, and React represents it really well by just allowing you to kind of keep track of variables that should be maintained for the lifetime of your application. And it might be something that takes a while to really sink in and understand. I know it took me like took me like 3 years when I first started using it, and I still kind of barely understand it. But I hope that this kind of presentation and this example of it allows you to better understand what state means. So we're using state, and state is going to be used all over the place. Like if you're building a game or you're building an app, most of the time there's going to be some concept of a state, because we want some variables to stay present during the lifetime of the application, and state is a good way to do that. We need to create a way for the square to update the board state, because once we click on the square, we want to somehow pass that information to our board to let us know that, oh, this square at this spot is now an X or an O. Since state is considered to be a private component that defines it, we cannot update the board state directly from square. Yep, that makes sense, because we want state in most of the time, we want the square state to be its own state and not to be accessible from anything, any other component. And likewise for board, we don't want the board state to kind of just be exposed to other components. But we can expose it through a function that passes down from the board to the square, and we'll have square called that function when a square is clicked. We'll change the render square method in board to this. So this is in board, meaning that we're going to return a square which has this function here, that on click, it's going to do this handle click function that we're going to handle click. Well, I actually don't understand. I actually don't understand why this is. On click, this dot handle click I. It looks like we're passing down I see. So what we're doing here is we're passing down not just the value here, we're passing down this on click function here as well. So I'm gonna copy this and just put it here. And again, for readability, we'll do it on different lines. You definitely want to have, and this is something I try to get better at too, just kind of, wait, where's this supposed to be? Oh. I'm gonna put this inside of parentheses, right? Yeah. You definitely want to have good spacing of your, or good indentation, because it makes it a lot easier, trust me. It makes it so much easier when everything is in a predictable format. And honestly, like spending the time learning how to properly indent and just learn how to do it like consistently saves you so much time down the road. I urge you really get used to like indenting properly and understanding like how it's supposed to work. I mean, of course, there's languages like Python where indentation is actually part of the code. Reach Regalia said, Tobi, are you a front-end dev? So I used to, in my first internship, I was working just in React, and that was my first introduction to not only React, but to coding. In my second internship, not really. I've worked with a lot of front-end technologies. Right now, at my job, I mainly do Python and SQL, and I don't touch front-end stuff at all. But like, my introduction to coding was through, I actually was really into making mobile apps. I think I talk about it in a few of my videos where just making apps, mobile apps was like, to me, like one of the coolest things ever. So I learned a lot about like designing an app and designing a website for like to show the app on. So I do have some experience with it, and like web, like front end is usually it looks cooler because you can see the results of your work a lot more easily. Like as opposed to like writing some sort of back end function or writing an API call. You can't really like see it as visually as you can with like front end technologies. But no, I wouldn't consider myself a front end developer. But I have worked a lot with front end technologies before. But thank you for the question. So here we're gonna have this onClick function that is gonna be passed down. Right here. We're gonna split the return element into multiple lines for readability and added parentheses so that JavaScript doesn't insert a semicolon after return and break our code. Okay, I didn't even know that's why we have the parentheses here, but that's useful. Now we're passing down two props from board to square, value and onClick. The onClick prop is a function that square can call when clicked. We'll make the following changes to our square. We're gonna replace this.state with this.props. Oh wow, we're changing it again. It was this.props.value, but now we're gonna change, we changed it from props to state, and we're gonna change it back to props because we're passing down state here. Sorry, I know this is very complicated and it definitely takes time to understand this, but really. Okay, so we're gonna replace that. We're gonna replace this.setState with this.props on click. Okay. I kind of don't like the way this is being done. It's a lot more confusing, but for the sake of this tutorial, we're gonna follow it. The fact that we're just replacing these functions is kind of, this.setState is pretty useful, but we're gonna replace it with this.props on click. And we're gonna delete this constructor because I'm gonna do this in step. Instead of reading all this, let's just do this as we see it. So we're gonna go to square. We're gonna change this.state value to this.props, meaning that we're gonna get the value from the board this time. Again, the board is gonna give the square its value. And then we're gonna go here, we're gonna replace this.setState with this.props on click. So we're gonna go here, instead of this.setState, on click. This.props, because on click is being passed. And you can see it here, it's being passed in here when we render our square. On click is getting passed in. And this is because now, as you can see with the last bullet point, we're going to delete this constructor from square because now the board is in charge of keeping track of the entire game state. All the square component is going to do is just make sure that we're showing the value X, O, or no to the player. But the board parent component is going to be in charge of what all the actual board elements look like. So what we're doing here, we're gonna delete this constructor now. And the reason why we're doing this again, even though like it's a bit more complicated, we're doing this because we don't want to have to check the state of all the squares, because there's 9 squares. And you could think of, if you're building an application that has a lot of child components, you really don't want every component usually to keep track of the state of all of the components, because it's just not efficient. It's really hard to track down some errors or bugs sometimes, and it can just be really messy down the road. It can lead to really bad design if you're having so many different functions that have to keep calling state back and forth between the parent and the child. What you can do instead is, if you have one parent, you're like, if you have more children than parent, that's funny, kind of analogy. But if you have a parent component, you can have some way to represent the state of all your child components inside of the parent component. That way, you can kind of have a function in your parent class that sort of communicates the state to all the child components, and all the child components can, in reverse, direct what state that they have or what kind of values that they represent back to the parent. If that makes sense. Basically, just keeping track of it in less components is usually better, it's more efficient, and it's a lot easier to understand that way in the long term. Right now, this might be a little confusing, but trust me, I think this is better in the long term. So after these changes, the square component should look like this. We're not gonna have any constructor anymore, we're just gonna render a value. And this value is gonna be this button, passed in this.props.value that's given to us by the parent component. And we're gonna have this onClick method that's also given to us by the parent component. When the square is clicked, this is the onClick function provided by the board is called. Here's a review of how this is achieved. Okay, this is some, this is kind of, I don't even know how I can describe this. But yeah, the onClick method, onClick prop built by, sorry, I don't even know how to like really sum this up in a way that's easily digestible. But if you guys want to, again, please, I urge you guys to check out the actual React.js page, because this is talking more about how like the event listener on the actual button component. The button is an element in HTML that works by having kind of a click listener that when you click it, it executes what function you provide. And this is how it's passed down to this.props. Yeah, so you know, let's not even worry about that for now. Let's just get to a point where we can actually see how this game might look. So when we try to click on the square, we should get an error because we haven't defined handle click yet. Yes, we have not. We actually have no, oh wait, we should have, let me see something. We should have, did I miss something? We should still have the numbers here because we're passing in 0 and then state.squares. Oh, I didn't save. I think that's why. Hopefully my numbers are gone. Oh, okay, so we did get an error. Yeah, we didn't define handle click. I think the numbers should still be there though. Value, this dot squares dot I, and square here should have this dot props dot value that's passed. Oh, instead of on click, we're supposed to have something different, right? Yeah, this dot props on click. So that's why I think there was some error inside. That's why it didn't render this dot props. I think that's it. This dot props on click. Yeah, numbers should still be there, I believe. Sorry, I keep forgetting what passed in equals ish. I believe our numbers should still be present on every square. Because we're rendering square here, and then the value equals this stuff. Oh, you know what? I realize why. So when we start off, the state of all our squares is null. We know, but it should still, it gets rendered here with 0 through 9. I'm sure there's some reason why it's not rendering. Did I miss something? Just dot props value. I know I'm forgetting something somewhere. This should definitely have the value that's passed in. I guess we can just forget it for now, unfortunately, even though I don't want to. But yeah, it should give us an error when we try to click it because we have not defined our handle click function. And we're going to do that here. We're going to have this handle click function that gives us this const of squares. And this means this dot state dot squares dot slice. You know, let me get the exact definition. Let me type in slice JS array. So I don't lie to y'all. So the slice method returns the selected elements in an array as a new array object. Okay? The original method will not be changed, and I think that's the important part. What we're trying to do here is we're going to modify. The reason why we're taking a slice is because we don't want to directly. There's I think I can show. But I mean, the only way you can affect state, I don't know if there's a way to raise an error to show an example here, but you can only really change state with this set state method. Let me try to actually do it directly, and hopefully an error will be raised. So let me copy and paste this here. What this is doing here is we're taking a copy of our array. There's nothing passed in. If you were to pass in arguments, slice can take part of your array or part of your array object. But with no parameters, it takes the entire array. And what we're doing here is changing the value to X, and then we're setting the state again to this squares array. Even though these values are the same, this is our state variable, and this is our slice object, our copy. So it's setting it to this copy. So let me just copy this entire function and put this inside of our board component. And I'm going to try to actually set it to, let me erase this and do this dot squares at index I equals X. I either will get an error, I should get an error. So here it's saying do not mutate state directly. Use set.state. As I said before, this should not work. So I won't even need this if this were to work. So let's see if this works. This might work actually. Let's see. Let me refresh. So this is not working. I thought it would throw an error, but this is not working. Let's actually see if it would work. Let's have it the original. Const squares, save, refresh. Yep, okay, it's working now. So as I said before, you should always use set.state if you're gonna change the state. React has a built-in function because you shouldn't mutate state directly with other kinds of functions because weird stuff can happen. Lunavi asked, how long did you learn about programming? I want to say, so I was part of this, and I do go over this in a lot in some of my videos, kind of offhandedly, or make a video about a certain topic of like my experience with computer science and software engineering. But I kind of got my start with computer science in 2014. I went to this summer coding class workshop for young boys of color in New York City. And that was really my first like real introduction to programming. Actually, probably if Rastro's still in here, he probably remembers how he introduced me to this thing called Scratch. Scratch is this kind of application built by MIT that's built for kids to like learn about programming with like really simple concepts, and it kind of has this drag and drop code editor. I never really got into it, but that was probably my first like real experience with programming. And then fast forward to 2014, I did that workshop with, in the summer. I learned about HTML and CSS and Python and JavaScript. But my favorite thing was HTML and CSS because you could actually see what code looked like. Because you can't really, it's just a lot harder with other languages. You have to kind of use them in different ways to actually get a result on the page. So that's why HTML and CSS was my favorite. But still, I didn't really like learn how to code until I got into making mobile apps. I wanted to let me make sure my camera's good. I wanted to make sure that I could, I wanted to code. I thought I could be like the next Zuckerberg or make the next Flappy Bird. I think I talked about this in my last mobile app video. But I was like, yo, I'm gonna make an amazing app. So that's when I started learning this programming language called Swift, which it works for iOS. And I think that was when I first started learning how to like build things with programs. Like the first app I made was this taxi app. I actually have a video about it on my channel too. It was called Pick Me Up. It was kind of like Uber, but for college students. And I learned a whole lot about like variables and keeping track of different information. And man, I mean, that code was messy. If you want to go to that video, Lunabi, like, trust me. First, the code base was so messy, like it was just all over the place because I didn't care about design or architecture. I was just like, yo, I have an idea and I'm just gonna spill all the thoughts in my head and onto the app. And I mean, yeah, it was just messy. But sorry, that went off on like a long tangent. But I want to say for the last like 6 or 7 years, right? 2020, yeah, for the like 6 or 7 years is when I like really got into programming. And I'm still learning every day. Like I'm still trying to get better at my fundamentals and really understanding how to not only learn it, but to teach the kind of, or if not teach, kind of like explain some of the concepts that I struggled with for other people. And I'm still learning how to do that, honestly. Even though like I am lucky enough to like be a software engineer as my career, like it's still a work in progress, like learning how to do this every day. So let's get back to this. Now, oh snap, we can fill in all our squares. We did it. Since our square component no longer, okay. However, now the state is stored in the board component instead of the individual square components. When the board state changes, the square components re-render automatically. Keeping the state of all the squares in the board component will allow it to determine the winner in the future, which is great. Like it's gonna make it a lot easier. So I'm gonna get back to that after answering this. Lunabi says, what language do you suggest for a beginner to learn? Honestly, I would say the first thing you should do is think about what you want to make. If you want to build something, if you want to build a website, a mobile app, some kind of like script that like wakes you up or reminds you of something every 30 minutes, I want to say you think about the project that you want to build first when thinking of a language to start with. Because a lot of languages, there's a lot of great starter languages. The first easy answer is something like Python, JavaScript, things that you don't have to worry about like a lot of setup, or something that you can use to get going really quickly. I want to say Python because Python is just like a great language in terms of readability. You can use it to do really simple things and also use it to do really powerful things. Python is being used by a lot of colleges, including mine now. My beginner class used C, and C is, I think it was a good beginner language like in the 90s, honestly, when there wasn't that many other options that were as developed. But Python is being used all over the place for really simple things, but also like at my job, we use Python to do like a lot of important kind of stuff like data processing or just creating like really important functionality. So I want to say Python just to give you a direct recommendation, but whatever works for you. I want to say really you just focus on understanding how to build stuff and how to work with variables, how to keep like arrays, for loops, while loops, classes. All languages have either similar concepts of them or literally exact ones, like JavaScript and Java and Python all have these kind of classes. Some, as you get further learning about like different kinds of concepts in computer science, you'll just learn about like how exactly things are built. So I want to say like, just pick something and go. It doesn't really matter. Like honestly, Python, JavaScript are great beginner languages, but you can use Java if you're really interested in learning about like the different kind of types that you need for data and stuff like that. So that's a good question though. Thank you, Lunabi, for asking. So right here, we're gonna go back. Since the square components are no longer maintaining the state, the square components receive values from the board component and inform the board component when they're clicked. In React terms, the square components are now controlled components. The board has full control over them. Note how in handle click, we call .slice, like I said before, to create a copy of the squares array to modify instead of modifying the existing array. Yes, we will explain why we create a copy of squares in the next section. I'm gonna try to guess what they're gonna say here. The section says immutability is important, but here, a lot of times you don't wanna directly change things, just in general. That's why we're using const, because const is an immutable, creates an immutable object. An immutable means that it cannot be changed. Once you set it, we're defining it to be this.squares.slice, and you can't change the internal, even though we're changing a value in the array, we can't actually affect the object. Hopefully I explained that correctly. We're gonna create a copy. There's generally two approaches to changing data. The first step is to mutate the data directly. Or mutate the data, meaning just mutate and change our synonyms, by directly changing the data's values. The second approach is to replace the data with a new copy which has the desired changes. So you have the data change of mutation, you have the player, and then here, this is how like you would actually directly change. Oh, am I out of focus? My camera's starting to bug out, but hopefully it holds on. And if you don't want to mutate data, what you do here, you would create a new player object, and instead of changing the score directly, you'll just create a new player object that has a new player score. I think this is a little more complicated, but a lot of times you don't want to change data directly. The end result is the same, but if you don't mutate objects, again, I don't want to get too much into like an in-depth explanation of stuff if we're just building the game, but some of these concepts are really important for understanding how to build really complex projects and features. So here, complex features become simple with immutability. So here, in the future, when we get back to tic-tac-toe, this tutorial is gonna have us implement a time travel feature where we can kind of undo what we did before and go back to a previous move or to like redo something. And when you keep track of state in a way that you're not changing what the value is directly, you can do a lot of cool stuff like keep track of the board every move, and then you'll be able to easily undo it by just going back to the last thing. And this is like a cool thing. Like if you have like let's say I just do something like I just type random stuff. I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to type all that in anything. Instead of just erasing everything, or if I want to like, this is a weird explanation, but I can just undo here. I just did undo to like undo, and it goes back to this. And every kind of undo function that you have in anything, maybe in a video game or in some kind of like, if you're working on Google Docs or something, you want to undo, a lot of times this is how undo is represented. Undo is sort of showing you that the application that you're using has some sort of like representation of everything you've done, kind of in some set or in some ordered list that allows you to quickly go back to what you did before. So that's a really important tip. Next time you see undo, really think about like, or next time you see any kind of function, trying to think about like how the developer or the developers designed that feature could be pretty cool. So let's just just go back, determining when to re-render. So this is some React specific things. I don't believe we're gonna need to do that right now. So function components. Oh, sorry. Give me 1 second. I'm getting a phone call. So here, we're not keeping track of state in our square anymore. So usually you have classes in React to keep track of. The main purpose of a class component is to keep track of state, but we're not using state anymore, so we don't have any real need for function to be a square. So we're not gonna, we can just do square, and then we're not gonna extend React prop component. We're just gonna do props. Let me see. Hopefully my camera doesn't just blow up or turn off because of the battery. So here, this is saying expected. Oh yeah, because we're not gonna have a render function anymore. We're just gonna return. And again, we are doing this because now that we don't keep track of state, we don't need the extra functionality that class will provide us. And only classes have this render function. Functions just have return because it's a function. All it's doing is returning a value, which is this element here, this button. Functions are in React. Function components are a simpler way to write components that only contain a render method and don't have their own state. Instead of defining a class which extends React.component, we can write a function that takes props as input and returns what should be rendered. Function components are less tedious to write than classes, and many components can be expressed this way. So like I said, if you don't need to do complicated stuff, usually like one of the child components, like smaller components are gonna be functions, and the parent components are gonna be classes, because they're gonna wanna maintain state of the child components. So here, this is what we're doing here. That doesn't mean we can't still have this on click. That doesn't, sorry, it doesn't mean that we still don't pass in props, or that we can't pass in props with function components. You can still do that here. You can still pass in values into components and have them do things with them. So we're not gonna have the concept of this, because this, and by this I mean this keyword, the this keyword. This is a concept that is only for classes, so we're just gonna erase that, and it's just gonna be props.value. Because as a function compared to a class, functions don't have a concept of this, which is referring to the instance of a class. Sorry, that might be a little wordy, but when you see this, it's so weird to talk about this because this is actually the word, and I'm not pointing to a specific this, but we're changing this dot props to props. When we modified square to be a function component, we also changed on click this dot props to a shorter on click props click. Yeah, we can do that here as well. Instead of the extra stuff here. Did I do that right? I think I deleted something I shouldn't have. Oh yeah, we still need the parentheses. I mean the brackets. I keep calling these parentheses. Okay. Taking turns. Now we need to fix an obvious defect in our tic-tac-toe game. Oh, what time is it? I think we can go on for like a few more minutes. I do want to like actually like see how, let's see how much longer this tutorial is. Let's see if we can get to a point where we can take turns. Okay. Oh, we're almost there. So I think once we get to the point where we can take turns, we'll stop there. And in the next stream, we can go over how to save the history of our game with React. Oh no, my camera might die soon. We can get to the concept of how to save the state in between turns. And what I really want to do, which I think would be really exciting, is if we can add some kind of like AI to the game, where it'll actually play against us. So let me keep going before my camera just bugs out. Taking turns, we now need to fix an obvious defect. The O's cannot be marked on the board. We'll set the first move to be X by default. We can set this default by modifying the initial state in our board constructor. So this is another great thing about having state. You can use state to kind of set values that you'll be changing throughout the lifetime of your application. And it's a lot easier to do that than just having an internal function. So here, what do they call it? X is next equals true. I kind of don't like that name. Let's just call it player X turn equals true. Right? Oh, it's lowercase true, sorry. Uppercase true is for Python. You'd have uppercase true and false, but it's lowercase in JavaScript. Player X turn equals true. Each time a player moves, X is next, will be flipped to determine which player goes next, and the game state will be saved. And we're gonna update. Oh no, is my I think my camera is off. I'm sorry, y'all. Let me disconnect this for now. So many technical difficulties this stream. I really appreciate people that stuck around, and just in general, like in the future, like wow, I'm gonna look back on this like I was a streaming noob. I'm gonna just turn off my camera, disconnect it, and we're gonna finish this still. A no face cam, unfortunately. But as I was saying, we're gonna set the first move to be X by default, and once we, ooh, sorry, that was my mic, sorry about that. Oh, is my face like frozen on the thing? I don't like how that looks. I don't like that at all. Let me take that off. Oh, actually, maybe I can use my camera, my webcam. I'd prefer not to. Oh, I like the quality of my camera. But it's alright, we'll just do it like this for now. And maybe if my camera decides to act right, we can end the stream off just chilling. Yeah, Lunaldi, yeah, honestly. Yeah, you could just tell I'm a level 0 streamer, man. Like, it is, people that can do this are amazing. Just being able to like have everything set up and not have things break down. Let's finish this game though. So we're gonna have player X turn is true. Each time the player moves, we're gonna flip it to go back and forth to see if X or O is next. And we're gonna update the board's handle click function to flip the value of X is next. Handle click is now gonna save this. Oh yeah, it's the same as before, but this time we're gonna save, what's gonna be filled in to each square is gonna depend on which one is next. This is a special thing called a ternary operator, which isn't explained here, but I'll let you know. Basically, this means that this is a Boolean value here, and it's checking to see if this is true or not with this question mark. If it's true, we're gonna do this. We're gonna set it to X. If this value is false, we're gonna set it to what's after this colon, so O. So what this is saying is X next? If X is next, we're gonna fill in this square's value with X. And if not, if X is not next, fill it with O. And we're gonna set the state to not, this is a exclamation operator that flips the Boolean value. So whatever X is, it's gonna flip the value. If it's true, it's gonna change it to false. If it's false, we're gonna change it to no. So let's see if I can do it off of memory. So here I called it player X turn. I just think that's more descriptive than is X next. Lunabi, you said don't worry about the webcam. Yeah, I feel like it's a lot more like, I don't know, I kind of like the intimacy of like you actually seeing me rather than me just talking from behind the screen. I personally just like the webcam, even though I know it's like a lot more like, I gotta make sure there's nothing crazy happening behind me or whatever. But yeah, I do like the webcam if it's possible. I'm charging my camera right now. Like hopefully I can set it back up so we can just end this stream off on my face. So player X turn is now we're gonna do this check. We're gonna see is player X turn. Oh, sorry. This is not just player X turn. It's gonna do this dot state player X turn, I believe. And if it is, X will be filled in that square, and if it is not, we're gonna fill it with O. And we're gonna make sure after that, regardless of what X was, let me enter for readability. We're gonna set squares to square. Oh, we have the slice, right? Yeah, I'm gonna set the squares to the copy of our squares array, which now has the new value that's filled in, and player X turn is now the opposite of this dot state dot player X turn. Let me see if I did that right. Yep, this dot state, this dot state. So now, if I try, hopefully, I'm surprised I'm not getting more errors. Oh, I did something wrong here. Update depth. I was just about to say, I'm surprised I'm not getting more errors. Usually when I'm like coding a project or something, like I have errors every second and I have to Google like what's wrong, what did I do wrong? But I like this kind of setup. Like it's interesting to kind of like I like debugging stuff that's like simple because it's like a really good example to show on stream. Like this is how you should diagnose errors. Here, maximum update depth exceeded. This can happen when a component repeatedly calls set state inside component will update or component did update. React limits the number of nested updates to prevent infinite loops. So let's see what I did wrong here. I probably did something wrong. What I did here, it's saying that this dot set state is an issue. I'm trying to see if I can figure this out without going back to the tutorial. Handle click, and then we're gonna set the state to that. I'm trying to see where I could have messed up here. Square I equals this dot state player turn is X or O. This dot set state now after we do that to. Alright, I give up. Let me just look back at the tutorial. It looks like that should be right? Opponent repeatedly call set.state. Oh, it's saying the on click here, this dot handle click. On click props dot on click. There must be something I'm doing differently from. Let's check what the tutorial has things looking like. I might have just a wrong line somewhere. Player X turn equals true. This dot state. Array 9 fill 9. This dot state dot squares slice. That is the same. Squares I equals this dot state dot X is next equals X or no. This dot set state, we're doing squares, and then player X turn equals not. This dot state, player X turn. That looks okay. Yeah, I must have missed something somewhere. Let's look at the function square. It has on clicks, props dot on click. That looks correct. Oh wait. Oh, so this isn't a function. This is a just on click. And then let me bring this up here. Sorry, I'm switching back and forth. Let me know if that's just a little too jumpy. I just tend to that's how I tend to just be reading stuff. Lunabi says, I watched a few memes about people who code and had to search errors on Google. It's funny to hear it from you. Yeah, like honestly, that is a lot. Like errors are such a common thing because computer science, like it is amazing how like the good thing about computers is they A lot of times the programs will do exactly what you say, but that can also be a bad thing, because if you don't specify instructions or lines of code properly, exactly how you want it, errors will always be a part of it, because errors, it's usually your fault that something is not working. Sometimes there's like weird stuff with programs or different kinds of things where things are out of your control, but usually it's because we forgot a semicolon, we didn't understand we're making an infinity loop somewhere, or okay, so that was the error. What I did was, this was calling a function, and because this props.onClick was called, what it was doing was, I believe it was just looking for this onClick method. This is my guess, where it was looking for this method that didn't exist, so it kept re-rendering because of that, and that's why we got to this update loop that broke our program. So let's see how this looks now. So what should work, before I click anything, I should be able to click X, and the next symbol that pops up should be O, and then it should go from there. So X, then if I'm player 2, I'll put an O, and then the next value should be X, because our Boolean value here in board.js gives us an X or an O. And it keeps flipping, and every time we click, it flips the player's turn. So this is a nice way, if you're playing with 2 players, keeping track of it in terms of like one player's turn being true or false is a nice, handy way to keep track of the turn. So X, and then O, and then X, and then O. Wow, I just beat myself. Wow, I didn't even mean to, but yeah. So that is our tic-tac-toe game version 1. I think this might be a good place to stop, just because one, been going for a while. I mean, sorry again for like the times that I had to dip out and stuff, but this is a good place to stop, because this is a nice version of the game that pretty much works, that if you just have a player, you're playing with 2 mouses, you can pretty much play like this. And for the next part, we'll either continue with the tutorial, where we're gonna make actually, let's add that little part that, I think they added a little part to show the next player's turn. So let's also change the status text in board to render, so that it displays which player has the next turn. So we're gonna do this, we're gonna change the status to next player plus, and plus here is used as concatenating 2 strings. And concatenating just means put 2 strings together. So this plus value is used to add in, or to like input in what player's turn it is. So we're gonna do that here in the render here. So next player plus, and then we're gonna put it in parentheses. Let's do this dot state dot player x turn, and I believe we should do this as this exclamation point. I forgot what this is called. Oh, not. It's like nodding the value, N-O-T, meaning that like it's flipping the value of it. And we're doing this because, oh, I lied, we're not doing this. Yeah, next player, let me do, instead of next player, I think it'd be better to do current player turn. I think that's a lot more descriptive than just next player. So we're gonna do this dot player state turn, and if it's X's turn, we're going to put in a symbol to show us what symbol is next to be placed. And if not, we're gonna do an OX. So let's see if that works as we expected. Yep, so it's player X's turn, and it's O's player's turn. And you see how it's changing without like, it's changing by itself. That's the beauty with React. A lot of times if you set up your components and you set up the render component, the render function here is called whenever, it's recalled, I mean, whenever the component state changes. So because the board state changes, so let me show you kind of like the flow of what happens here. Function, this square component has a function that when you click on it, it takes in, okay, all right, it starts here. We have this handle click function that is passed down when we render the squares. We render the square here. We pass down this handle click function. This handle click function is defined here, where it sets the value of a square and it changes this internal state of the board. it passes down this function here, telling us that we can change the value of this square. Then it goes to square here. We click on it if we're in X or O, and it changes the value of this square. Once it changes the value here, we come back to the game, back to the board. And when we change the value of this square, this entire render function changes, because as you see here, we're keeping track of the state of all of our squares. So because of that, anytime the state changes for any reason, this render function is recalled. You can see how like it's powerful because you don't have to do anything internally. You don't have to add any kind of extra implementation to find a way to re-render the page. And by render, I mean displaying it on the page. React does it automatically for you, or it's built into the language or built into the library. The problem is though, you have to make sure that one, you're not re-rendering a bunch of unnecessary stuff on your page, stuff that's gonna slow things down, or stuff that's just in general going to clutter your page. You have to still be responsible for how you're rendering the page. But it's really powerful because it just allows us to kind of have an interactive game that's telling us whose turn it is. It's player X's turn. I'm gonna try to not lose this time. Now it's player O's turn. I'm so dumb. I'm so bad at tic-tac-toe. I keep beating myself and I should not. That's embarrassing. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. In the next, actually, I'm gonna bring my camera back in a bit. But I'm just gonna explain the progress of what we're doing, and we're also gonna save it to GitHub, because version control is an important thing when you're building a project, especially if you're interacting with other people on the project as well. So I'm gonna bring back my terminal, and hopefully I don't show something I'm not supposed to. So we have our entire project here, and I'm gonna do git status. And Git is a, I don't even know. Git is a tool that's used to keep track of your project. Whenever you're working on a project, it's easy. The easiest thing is to just save the file and then bring it back when you're done, or like just open it again the next time you want to work on it. But what if you want to work on it? What if someone else wants to work on a project with you? Are you going to send the project, the files of the project in between each other and take turns working on it? What if you guys want to both work on features at the same time, and you can't really wait for other people? Or what if you have like different kinds of conflicts with different parts of the project? If you're working on it differently and you want to combine everything together, it can be really messy trying to do all that. So Git is a really powerful tool that I encourage you, no matter what you do in computer science, where you're working, front end, back end, mobile apps, you need some sort of versioning system, and Git is a powerful one. So I do Git status to see what parts of my project has changed from last time. And here we worked on a board in the square. So I'm going to add it to my, I'm going to do git add, and this adds it to the next like update, or this is going to be called, oh, sorry. What did I just do? Git add. And we're going to copy the name of this. Wait, what am I doing? Why is that not? Let me do git status. I'm trying to copy this name here. Git add. So we're gonna add this to the next. Yep, Rash still says Git is a must-have. I agree. We're gonna add this back to the. We're gonna add this to something called a commit, and a commit is kind of like a checkpoint of new updates that you made to your application. So we're gonna add this, and then we're gonna also add square. Okay, so once we have that, we're gonna do git commit. We're gonna do git commit test m to add the message, and you want to kind of add some kind of descriptive short message on what we worked on. Let's say add state v1 of game with turns. Okay, so it tells us we added the state, we added v1 of the game, and it also tells us what files were changed and what kind of code was added or deleted. And to push it, we're gonna do git push origin master, and this actually is using GitHub. GitHub is completely separate from Git. Even though Git works with GitHub, all Git did was save it in my internal kind of like on my computer. But if you want to actually upload it to GitHub where other people can work on it, you're gonna do Git Push, which is a GitHub command, and we're gonna push it origin master. And this is really good. Like honestly, this is probably one of the most important work, like things that if you want to have a software, if you're moving to like a software developer career, like where you work at will likely, hopefully, will have some sort of versioning or version control system. So now that I pushed it, I'm gonna open my GitHub right now, and we're gonna see if it uploaded successfully. Hopefully, I'm always worried I'm showing something that I shouldn't. So here, add it, and look. So here, this is the website GitHub here, and you see here we added the state and v1 a game returns 1 minute ago. And we're gonna see here all the code that we added today was added to GitHub, meaning that other people that work on this project with me can look at it, can add features, and can all like push to the same branch. Or like we can work on different, if we want to work on like different files or different components, GitHub or Git in general allows you to work on it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna get my camera right now too. But again, if you have any questions of anything that I did or you want me to go into detail, please let me know. Let me get my camera. So, yes, this is the next step. And honestly, the next stream, if I don't get interrupted or if there are no more technical difficulties, we could probably finish this game. Or if you guys have any suggestions for features or different kinds of things that we could add to the game. The tutorial's almost finished. We're just gonna add in the next stream, we're going to be adding, we might add the history so you can like undo the game or if you want to go back to a previous thing. But I think what would be really fun is if we just go completely off track of the tutorial, we add some kind of AI element. It might be a little complicated, but I think that'd be a fun kind of, that'd be a fun thing to do. I'm connecting my camera back. Hopefully you give me a little bit more juice, please. The rest of this stream. Don't act up. Please connect, please work. Oh, I kind of like that angle more. I am on the way back. Give me 1 second. But thank you everyone that tuned into this stream. Again, I really do appreciate it because I am learning. As you can see, I'm literally learning on stream how to do all this. And it's definitely a work in progress, but I'd like to think that I'm getting a little better each day at learning how to stream and just making content in general. Like, I definitely don't want to be one of those YouTubers or one of those content creators that just be like making videos just for money or just to do it for clout or something. Like, I really like to think that you guys are gaining something from watching me in general. I think I am visible once more. Open and keep OBS open, and let me switch just to me. Whoa. Wait, why? Oh, I guess because I switched it to 1920p. yeah, so that is that project. In general, tic-tac-toe, even a game as simple as tic-tac-toe, you can see obviously it can be a lot more complicated. Or it could have been a lot simpler too. We could have literally made it as a command line game where we just literally draw every piece of the board and we have the players select the number from 1 through 9 and we'll just do it themselves. But we want to make an interactive game. We want to make a game where you, it's like actually more fun to click on a square in the board. It's more intuitive and it's easier than like having to press a number from 1 through 9. So that's where even games as simple as tic-tac-toe can be really complicated, like as a starter project in terms of keeping track of state and having different components like the squares of the board and having an entire board component keep track of all that. So yes, this project is like, might seem a bit more complicated than you would expect, but that's just the case with coding in general, with computer science. A lot of times things are a lot harder to do than you would expect. But what time are we in the stream now? Low key, yo, streaming is kind of fun. I kind of like doing this. So it's a lot to just be here consistently throughout the whole thing, but like I really liked the interaction. Thank you guys for asking the questions, of course, for helping me out with the stream, with the audio and the video quality. Like, it is something that I definitely want to keep doing for sure. Let me see where we're at with the time on the stream. Oh, my computer is lagging though. That's the problem. Like the tough thing is just is just doing this on my laptop, on my MacBook. But I'm hoping to build a PC in the near future, and all these stream issues hopefully will be resolved. Let me make my viewfinder still good. Okay, good. So now I guess we're just chilling. I guess we can go until like 3:30. If you guys have any questions or stuff, or I guess I could just talk about my life for 11 minutes. So I have been in full-time software engineer for about a month now. I'm going into a month. This is my first full-time like out of college job. And as I mentioned earlier in the stream, as part of my job, I'm a back-end software developer, and I work with Python and SQL a lot in a lot of the projects that I do. I'm kind of still in the onboarding phase, meaning that the task and the work I get isn't like super hard or super complicated. It's kind of like starter task where my manager and like my mentors are kind of like coaching me on different parts of the company, the code base, and just understanding how to like really build important things. And now I'm starting to move more into more difficult projects that aren't as clearly defined, and stuff where I actually have to do a lot of more work myself to figure things out. And yeah, I'm loving it. Like, I'm fortunate just to be in this position every single day. Like, I feel that way. Like, I feel like I'm getting to learn a lot of like really cool things every day, getting to work with really cool, nice people. And it's nice just to have a job in general, like regardless, because I'm working from home. And I know like software engineering, like, like it could be a lot worse. Like, no matter what kind of issues that people may have with being a software engineer, the fact that we get to work remotely, the fact that it's not like a physically intensive job that like puts your life at risk, or it can hurt you, like being a construction worker, or I don't know, like, I think there's a lot worse jobs to have. So I'm very fortunate that I ended up here. But yeah, one thing that was really surprising, and I might go into this in a video, is like, you really don't need to be like, I don't even know how to describe this in a good way. You can learn a lot. You can improve a lot more than you would expect, I think, like in a software engineering role. Like, sometimes you might have what's called imposter syndrome, where you feel like everyone around you is really smart. And oh wow, literally Reach Regalia just had a question I was just about to go into. I probably shouldn't even look at that before I started. You ever feel imposter syndrome? Yes, all the time. Let me get some more drink because I'm hot. Let me get my other Dunkin' Donuts drink. I'll be right back and I'll answer that question. I literally got 2 of these because I be getting mad thirsty. I'm not gonna lie. Yes, imposter syndrome is a very real thing. A lot of companies and a lot of places, not just companies, at school or just with friends. Sometimes you feel like everyone has a better handle of things or understand things a lot. He said that cliffhanger. Yeah, I'm sorry, Lunavi. I got mad hot when he said that. I was like, oh, I need a drink for this one. All the time, like it's a natural thing. If you work with really smart people, or you just work on like really important things, people are just gonna be more comfortable with things. And sometimes it can make it feel like, oh, you don't belong in this space, or you don't belong, like, or you're not smart enough to do something. When honestly, it's something everyone feels like at some point. At some point you do, there is a goal really. I have this personal goal to always surround myself with smart people, or like always kind of be in spaces where I have stuff to learn from. Because like, it's a thing that you just feel, and it's a normal feeling, and honestly everyone's gonna feel that way. But as you get more comfortable with stuff, as you really keep learning, you will find yourself out of nowhere. You might have people coming to you asking you questions, and people being like, oh, you understand this a lot better than I do. It just comes with time and with the belief in yourself that you're not you're progressing. As long as you feel like you're making progress every day, it doesn't matter. I wouldn't say to complete. Oh, what's up, Jishtava? How you doing? Welcome to the stream. We just finished the tic-tac-toe project, and now I am just talking to y'all about my life. Feel free to ask any questions. But to sort of summarize what I feel about imposter syndrome, it's a perfectly normal feeling. I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel that way, because we all feel it in some way. I was just talking about how, like, at my job, like, I kind of felt, honestly, every job I've had, I've kind of felt like, yo, everyone here understands this, or everyone here kind of has some kind of knowledge that I don't get right now. But you take the time to learn. You take the time. You shouldn't be afraid to ask questions. And you should not be afraid to feel like, oh, I feel like the dumbest person in this room, because it's a normal thing. We all go through it. But yeah, I was just saying, like, going into my first job out of college, I'm in my first job out of college, and I just passed a month, and I feel like I've gotten way better in everything, literally in writing code, in working with other people, in understanding what my company does and all the functions and how my work directly benefits or is part of that larger goal of the company. And with time, like, I feel like it's gonna be so dope to get to a point where I'm just doing it. Get to a point where, like, I can be kind of like a source of knowledge for other people. Like, I can't wait to get to that point. Hopefully, I can get to that point. Java Chowdhury said, just started learning coding. I was watching video of yours when the stream started. Great content. I appreciate that. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. I think my content, I've been making YouTube videos seriously, I think, since at the start of 2018 is when I really started. I was making a lot of basketball content. And ever since then, man, I feel like I'm slowly getting better at making better videos. It was tough. Like, honestly, YouTube is still, like, kind of tough at times, because I want to make great content that people want to watch, but also you gain something from. I think there's a lot of, like, video genres and types of videos that are out on YouTube that people just, like, it doesn't really make, how do I describe it? It doesn't really make the viewer better. Like, it doesn't improve your life. It's just some kind of, like, how do I describe it? It's just, like, people just making weird videos that don't really improve the world or anything. They don't really have any kind of takeaways for other people. Like, I don't necessarily have to teach you something, but if I make a cool video that shows you this interesting perspective about life, talks about coding, or shows you some really cool project that motivates you, inspires you to do something, I feel like that's a great video. And that's the videos that's the type of videos I try to make. I try to make videos that aren't, like, biting off of this formula of, like, what works and what doesn't, and provide you with something. I can talk about, like, the most popular video on my channel is called The Worst Lines of Code Ever. That video, this that video, I don't know why exactly it blew up or whatever, but I think it's a little over 100,000 views. And honestly, I just made it because I was just looking at the types of different computer science or coding videos on YouTube, and I'm like, they're all kind of like the same thing, and I don't really want to be that kind of channel that is like super educational and just like, this is how you do this and how you do this. I like doing it, trust me, but I feel like there's so many of them that I want to find like a new way to do it, which is why I like doing stuff like these live streams or stuff like where I'm actually interacting with you guys and showing you like things that I build and why I use them. Like, I'm not making like the app videos that I show you, I don't show you just to do like just to show you how to build an app. I'm building something that I'm using that actually brings me money, and I want to show you guys the steps that I use to build it. Sorry, there's a few questions in the chat. Justava says, just started learning coding. I was watching video of your, it was your worst lines of code video. Those are the type of videos which increase your knowledge. Thank you, I appreciate it. That video is very flawed. There's a lot of mistakes in there that honestly I should have paid better attention to, because I didn't think the video was gonna get that popular, but it did, and there are a lot of mistakes in that video that I hope that future videos, if I make a video like that, I will address better. But I appreciate that, thank you. Dr. Hua for you says hello. Hello, doctor, what's up? Thank you for joining the stream. Lunabi says, I believe that video was among why Yandere dev coding is bad. Or yes, thank you for clarifying that. When I say why, I don't know why it blew up. I was wondering more about like why that video was taken as the connection to this person called Yandere dev. If nobody knows who that is, it is a popular, or I guess infamous, game developer that he's creating this game called Yandere Simulator, and I guess he's not known to be he's a very controversial person. And I think there was a video that came out like a year or a few months ago where somebody, I don't know, I think he codes on his game. I don't know that much about him. I did read a lot about him when I was seeing that my video was blowing up. He makes I think he streams often, and sometimes he shows progress that he makes on the game. And someone like made a video, or people made a bunch of videos showing like the inefficiency in his code, how like it's all over the place, like he's calling a bunch of functions each time. He's doing things where he's like using for loops and if-else statements all over the place instead of like properly structuring your code, and a bunch of things that people be making fun of. So for some reason, my worst lines of code video got related to that. I didn't mention his name at all. I barely knew who that was. I think I watched a video like of some streamer playing it one day, but I had never really, that video was not meant to add him at all, and somehow it got connected and then it blew up. And it was funny jokes in there, so I kind of like leaned into it. I thought it was funny. I made a video about it, about like that whole, after I took some time to learn more about his code, I made a video about like why I feel like people were talking about him and why necessarily it might not be a bad thing, because he's the own developer on it. He's a solo developer, I think, working on the game, and I mean that whole situation is kind of messy, so I'm not really gonna go into it that much, but hopefully he doesn't find a way about it. Hello, no. Okay, Jashava just said, I actually learned and will try to implement those in my future code. And yeah, would love your opinion on Yandere Dev's code. Dude, those if statements are horrible. Yeah, it's tough for me to really like criticize him, because one, I don't really know him that well. I know there's a lot of controversy with him outside of his code, like his personality, how he bans people from his streams and blocks people on Discord. I'm not gonna go into that. I don't really know him. I don't really know it well enough. But I know, like, I was in that period when I first started learning how to code and I was just making apps. I did not care about like proper coding styles or proper like architecture code. I was just building stuff that I thought was cool. I see a lot of myself in kind of like the code design that he does. So it's tough for me to really come at him if he just had a dream for a game and it just got way too big for his own good, but like he's just in that kind of mode of like, yo, I just want to build this. He does have very inefficient code from what I've seen, but you'd be surprised. A lot of companies, especially a lot of like startups, small startups, have really, really messy code, because with a startup, it's not like just working a normal job. If you work at a small startup, it's kind of like, we need to build this feature by Friday or we're gonna run out of money or we're gonna go bankrupt. You don't really have time to focus on how to properly do things. The hope is that you hire people, or people are like well-educated enough in computer programming to sort of avoid like doing really inefficient stuff and stuff like if-else statements all over the place. Yeah, you know what? That's something that most people should try to avoid. But if you're really focused on building a game, and I know he not only builds the games, he streams the progress and he makes YouTube videos about it. So it seems like, and he does all the art for it, and he has a Twitter page where, like, I don't know if he's doing all that himself. If he is, maybe he just is not putting in the effort to really learn how to code because he's just doing all this stuff by himself. But man, I don't know. I feel like I should look, maybe, I don't know if we should do a stream where we just look at his code or something. I mean, I don't really want to associate my channel or his stuff with him too much, just because I'm not really into kind of like bashing other developers or bashing like other channels in general. Like, I don't really want to do that, but maybe it'd be cool to do a video on it or to look at it somewhere. Lunabi says, cough. I somehow know about Yandere Dev too much for my own good. Yeah, he is something. He is something. I mean, it looks like an interesting game. I know, like, it looks like people are saying it might never come out, but it looks like a cool game. Really graphic though, so I don't know if kids can play it. I think he's self-taught and was working on that game by himself at first. Reach Regalia said. Yeah, I know that there was a point where he was working with someone or with some studio, but then something happened and then they stopped doing it. Or they stopped working together, but yeah, if you're working on a game by yourself, like, it is really hard to, especially if you want to keep adding features and stuff, it's really hard to look at it long term. Oh, my camera might die again. The guy doesn't take too out of criticism. Yep, that's another personality thing I've heard. Again, I don't really know too much about it outside of like what a lot of YouTube channels are saying. It does seem like he bans people or blocks people. I don't really know about that, but hopefully fans of the game could. Holy as those if statements will kill your brain. Yeah, I think I've done the same thing too. Like, I probably, when I started coding, especially if you're making like one of those choose your own adventure games or like some kind of like game, it's really easy to just be like, oh, just put more if conditionals into it. But I know, like, when he's like trying to create a character or do something, he has like an if statement for every single one. And if statements in general do get inefficient if you like have like a lot of them. Like, you really shouldn't have more than like 3 different cases for if. So you should have an if and then an else if and an else. That should really be how long. And if you have more options, you want to consider either using a data structure like an enum, which is kind of like a built-in list. Oh, my camera just froze again because it ended. But I'm still going to be hard. Let me put something else on the screen. My camera is not cooperating today, but next stream I'll either get additional batteries or I will have a different camera set up for this so I can be in person longer. Yeah, I'm gonna say if statements, yeah, that's not good. What program do you use for Pixelmark? Oh yeah, I use something, honestly, like, I don't know if Photoshop is gonna come at me, but I found this thing called Photop. I'm gonna spell it P-H-O-T. Oh, actually I can just go to the website here. Honestly, everything that you can do on Photoshop, I haven't not everything you can do on Photoshop from what I've seen, I've been able to do on Photopea. Like here, this is where I built like all the assets for my game that I was making. That I showed a few videos on the channel for what's it called? Apples and Asteroids. Yeah, I'm gonna get back to it eventually too. Just waiting for the right moment. Let me show you all this. Let me show y'all all the stuff I built. Oh, let me hide my. These are a lot of my thumbnails and stuff. I really be working on my thumbnails. I work on most of the stuff on my channel myself. I can't show it here, but Photopea is free. It's a website. You just go to it and you're able to work on stuff directly. It's a solo project that was built by this developer that kind of wanted that he just didn't like Photoshop, or he like wanted to add different features, and it's completely free. It has ads here to support to like to keep the site going. But if you guys want to donate or if you want additional features, you can be a single user, or you can just donate if you want to. I definitely suggest, if you guys are into making pixel art. I took this pixel art class on Udemy. I think it was $10. It was on sale, where I kind of like learned how to, because I didn't know how to, I didn't know like color theory and just different parts about actually creating objects. And I followed along with the course, and it was they were using Photoshop, so the fact that I was able to do exactly what, or follow along with the course of Photopea, just lets you know just how powerful it is and how similar it is to Photoshop. So Photopea, that's the name of it, if you guys are interested in pixel. For my pixel art, for the pixel art course, if you're interested, I don't have the website here, but if you go back to the channel, if you just search on my channel for my pixel art, my first pixel art video for Apples and Asteroids, you'll see it's in the description. He steals the art. He steals the art? I think I did hear something about that. That he took it from some other game. Well, or he took it from like some kind of like asset website. Wow. Well, that's something to consider. Yeah, there's a lot going on. There's so many videos about this guy. Like, oh sorry, I got cracked mine. There's so many videos about Yandere Dev. Isn't that kind of like wild? Like, yeah, he's a character. I don't know. A lot of people make content about it, which is kind of why I don't like, another reason why I don't like doing it, because it's like there's so much drama around this whole game and around his character that's like, what more could I add to it other than having a video that is not related at all to him, but it just gets related to him anyway. Lunabi says, I think I am a person who would do a wall of those if statements because I would like how it looked. I mean, yeah, it does. It's not like it makes it hard to read unless you have like a lot of them. But it's pretty, like, it's not good design to have stuff ordered like just if else, because if you have a lot of if else statements, you're forcing your program to sort of jump around all over, and it's just not good design. Yeah, I would say if you're having a lot of if else statements, you're bloating the file with a bunch of different options for stuff that isn't just like long term. It's going to be a lot harder to keep track of it, because you want to change something, you might have to change your entire if else, all the branches of your if else statement. So you just have to think of better ways to represent stuff. Justava Chaudhary asked, is your game open source? If you're talking about Apples and Asteroids, no, it is not open source. It is built in Unity, and I could open source it, but I'd like to get like a first version of it out. If you guys will be interested in adding features to it, that's dope, definitely. And also just showing the code. I do show pretty much all the code that I've written for the game. I show it in the videos. But yeah, it's tough open sourcing stuff. I also have a Discord bot that I'd like to open source too, a Discord bot for my Discord. If you guys are interested in joining the Discord, you can go to the banner on my homepage or in any of the descriptions of like all my videos. You'll see the Discord link. So please join the Discord. It's a nice way to talk. And there's a bunch of people in there already. I think we're at 28 members. Yeah, open sourcing stuff is tricky because I have to make sure that there's no like way for people to abuse stuff, or I also want it to be like the best quality kind of code. But I have open sourced a lot of stuff on my channel. If you guys are interested in checking out the Discord, not the Discord. If you're checking out like all the coding projects I've made on the channel, not all of them, but I open source a lot of them, like the mini apps that I make, like. I've been open sourcing them a lot recently. Justava Chowdhury said, I would love to work with you on it. I just want the experience. For sure. I'm planning in the near future to kind of set up like different kinds of projects that we start on the channel, and you guys are more than welcome to add features to it. And it'd be great to just work with people, guys, on a project. And I'm hoping to do that maybe with a tic-tac-toe game. If we can, like, once we finish the version of it next week or whenever I next stream, we can add like different features. And you guys are more than welcome to, if you go to the GitHub link, you can just directly edit it. Lunabi says, I would like to look at it. Ooh, having trolls like me would be bad. It's funny. There was one time me and Rastro, who was in the stream earlier. He was talking. We were making a Discord bot together. We were making like a Naruto kind of Discord bot, which was mad fun. And this was my first time ever making a bot on Discord, and I actually added I included when I was uploading it to GitHub, like how I showed you we did with the tic-tac-toe game. I accidentally added like the master key of the Discord bot, which allows anyone to access it, the authentication key. I accidentally uploaded it to GitHub, and it was public, so everyone could see the authentication key. I added it that night, I went to sleep, and I woke up to all these text messages in my DM, or sorry, that was my camera. All these DMs in my Discord, and everyone in my server was like, yo, I got this random DM from your bot. It was just telling me mad stuff. Like, it was a whole bunch of like random characters and stuff. And I was so scared because it turns out that like somebody hacked my Discord bot because they took the key because it was just public. And yeah, in the future I learned that like, yeah, the authentication key should never be uploaded or should never be public. It's something that should be secret. So I had to destroy the bot, I had to delete everything, and then make a new authentication key and hide it. Because some people just make scripts that just go online looking for public information like all the time. Like, it was not it. So ever since that experience, and also like it was like harassing everyone else in the server too. So that was just not good at all. So from then on, like I'm a little more cautious about making public information, as long as like, if I can't be sure that like no one can abuse it or no one can like take advantage of it, because I want to make sure everybody else in my server is comfortable. Like, I don't want it to like get too out of hand. So in the future, I definitely want to open source more stuff, as long as I'm sure it'll be a great experience. Justava said, I like this, LOL, I like this community. Thanks, man, sub to you. I appreciate that, thank you. I like this community too. I have a lot of interesting people that joined from Yandere Dev, the Worst Lines of Code video, and also from a lot of my coding project videos. Also, some people are still here from like my old basketball videos that I used to make, and the coding projects that I work on in general. So I like how it's a nice mix of people that are like in high school and all the way to like other full-time developers. So I appreciate everybody that sticks around here. Naruto fan too, of course. Damn, I got a new friend this quarantine. Yeah, big fan of Naruto. I actually I watched Naruto when I was a kid, like the original one, and I recently, like in the last, when did I watch Shippuden, the second part? I watched it in college, so that must have been like sophomore year. I watched Shippuden, so that was like 2017. Yeah, I love Naruto, of course. All my friends love Naruto. Yeah. Wow, it's still 3:40. I really like streaming, man. Like honestly, talking to y'all are cool. It's cool. I feel like I be talking a lot though. Where are we at? Like, what's the time on this stream? Man. Now I'm definitely gonna be streaming a lot more often. Hopefully, if I'd love to do it like a regular thing, like making it every week. It's just that I get busy with sometimes with work and stuff, so we'll see. But if you guys are really enjoying this stream, putting a like on the video, sharing it with your friends, and of course coming back, either joining the Discord community, following me on Twitter, like those kinds of things, like staying connected with you guys is really dope. What do you think of Boruto? So Boruto is like the not the spinoff. Is it the spinoff? I don't know what it is, but the way it's kind of like set up, it's like all the main villains were defeated already in Naruto. So it's like, what can Boruto defeat that Naruto can't? And I watched like a little bit of Boruto. It just seems like some regular stuff. I saw this really funny side-by-side description, this meme of Boruto where it was like the tuning exams in Naruto, and it was a picture of like some crazy stuff happening, like it was a life or death situation. And in Boruto, the tuning exams was like some cute stuff, like they were like, I don't know, like they were just doing like something that was not life-threatening at all. And it just shows how like just the tone of the entire anime is just not at all as serious as Naruto. Like Naruto, it was set in like such a like bitter, or kind of like you felt like they were really living a life of a ninja where any day like they could die. The tuning exam was a life or death test. And it makes sense though, because in Boruto they're not in wartime, at least up to where I watched. All the nations are at peace, and it's just different. Like it's just not the same vibe as Naruto. Disjava says, I'm in senior year of electronics engineering learning Java. I'm having a blast talking to you though. I don't have many friends. Sigh. And that's alright, man. Honestly, it's like being a senior learning Java. I mean, yo, thanks for joining. I really do appreciate it. I'm glad that you tuned in. It's all good. When you graduate, you just join the real world. Friends are overrated. Nah, I'm playing. But I'm glad you're here. Lunabi says, I saw a meme that went like war. Naruto, war. Boruto, kindergarten. Yo, exactly. It's just not as serious. The tone of the show is just not as like, it's not at all like how Naruto was. Like, it's just not for us. It's just not, it's not it. No, Naruto is dope. Okay, we are at 3:50. All right. Hard stop at 4 p.m. That's the end of this stream. It's fun though. I really enjoy talking to you both, like, and everyone that's tuning into the stream. Thanks, y'all. So if you guys have any other questions, I'm happy to answer anything as much as I can. I do be talking though. That's the thing. I can show you guys some of my favorite videos. Oh, let me do this in another tab. I'm always so worried. I'm gonna go to my channel real quick. When is my next video up? Yeah, I'm working on it now. I actually have a lot of videos. This is I guess a personal thing that I share. I usually record. I don't upload every video that I record and then I edit and I finish, because sometimes I feel like I'm always worried about like how a video is gonna do and if people are gonna like it, and also if it's the right time to do a video. So sometimes I'll just record a video and I'll be like, you know what, maybe not right now, or maybe like this could be better. So sometimes I'll be holding on to stuff, which is bad. But at the same time, I want to make a video that people are gonna love, or people are gonna like, you're gonna get something from it. And sometimes I'll record it and then I'll be editing it and I'll be like, you know what, that wasn't it. Nah, that's not it. So let me just show y'all my channel. So as you see here, like these are, Lunabi says, Gustavo, you are my upperclassman, though I am learning C# in school. Ah, that's dope. C# is a dope language. That's what Unity works with. And C# is very similar to Java as well. So these are my popular videos, not necessarily the best videos, just the ones that got the most attention. So the worst, wow, it's at 120K. That is what a lot of people know me from and subscribe to me from. I made this video talking about Medium, which is a blog article where I talk about, sometimes I like writing articles in my free time about random stuff. I used to write about basketball and about how this basketball game that I was making an app for, or making a basketball simulation app. And this was a fun video because I like making videos about making money. Just because like, I feel like it's a concept or a thing that we're all interested in. I made this video. This is the like to dislike ratio. People did not love this, but it was fun. Like, I mean, it was cool. I feel like, yeah, Yandere Dev videos just are just hot topic, I feel like, which is why I didn't really want to make more videos about it, just because it feels like a lot of people make them because that's like what's trending. And I don't like to really do trending videos. I just like to do videos that are cool on its own and maybe people like it over time. And this video was cool. This was the first video that ever really blew up for me. I got, how many views did this get? I think this got like 1,000 views in one day, and that was just amazing to me. I was like, whoa. Oh, no, maybe not 1,000, maybe like 500 views. And that was like the first like big video for me. And I was like, yo, this is so amazing. I just made it because I was like, you know what? I feel like there's a lack of video examples where they actually show what code looks like in the real world or what people actually code. So I just show like different examples of coding. This is one of my favorite videos for sure. Like, I love this video. This is like the first big video that I felt like I really was making the kind of content I wanted to make on YouTube. How tweets go viral, this was fun too. Even though I feel like I could have done better on this video, it was fun because I'm really interested in how like things like Twitter and YouTube, like how they work. Oh, I am planning this video. It's kind of secret, but I'll let y'all know in the stream. I'm planning this video on how the YouTube algorithm works, how they recommend videos to people. Oh, let me check the stream. I see you guys talking to each other. That's dope. I have doubts all the time. Of course. Doubts all the time. I learned C# in school in sophomore year. You got doubts, just ping me. That's dope. Thank you, Gustavo, for being helpful. Doubts make you grow, mate. I agree. In all honesty, Lunabi says, I just downloaded Unity today and then re-downloaded it because I was confused. I'm glad that I got to watch your stream to get a little more motivation. I'm glad. Thank you. I'm glad that you tuned in and it helped you in some way. Unity is definitely confusing. Even though they have a lot of really helpful tutorials and guides, like, it is still tough. Game development, I feel like sometimes is a whole different side of software development than like most other things. Cause yeah, game development is its own beast. Like, I thought like because I was used to coding that I'd be good at game development, but still working on that. That's what this Twitter video was so much fun though. The Kawhi Leonard video. Oh, this might have been the first video that blew up for me. It was fun. I just made a little compilation of Kawhi Leonard screaming. This was probably the first thing that blew up for me. Yeah, this was one of the cool videos too. How much money can a mobile app developer make? Because I was surprised that I went from making cents a month to actually making double-digit figures of money, of revenue from ads served on my applications. Lunabi, Destrava says, Lunabi, Unity can take some time to get used to. Just keep at it. Don't give up, bud, and you make it. That is so true. Like, honestly, that is so true. I struggle like with Unity errors all the time. There's really cool people that in my Discord, Dixel and Coder Husk. on my Discord. Like they're really good with Unity, and they teach me a bunch of things too. I know Coder Huss makes some videos as well on YouTube. Yes, that's so true. Like Unity, you can keep banging your head against it. It's a long learning curve, but I mean, it's steep for me. Like it's hard to learn it, but once you do, oh, sorry, dropped my camera battery. Once you do it, it's so worth it. It's so worth it. It's like understanding like how the update method works in Unity, how to like render things properly with the camera. So tough. Justava says, "Hey Toby, have you used Unreal Engine?" Oh, I have heard of that. I definitely heard of Unreal Engine. That's what That's is that the one with Epic Games? I know Unreal Engine uses C++ primarily, and I know a lot of like first-person shooter games are built with Unreal Engine. So, yeah, I think I've heard of it definitely. I'm pretty sure, is that what Epic Games uses? They use Unreal Engine, right? Yeah, Unreal. Yeah, they like Unreal, like sold it to. Yeah, it was first showcased. Yeah. So this is what Fortnite is built with. Paragon. Oh, I remember Paragon. I don't know if any of you all have ever played Paragon, but Epic. Yeah, it's a powerful engine for consoles. Unity is great. I mean, I think Unity can work with like consoles. I mean that like PlayStation or Xbox. But Unreal, this is where like the AAA games are like made here, like for real. Nabi says, "Thank you, Drish, and good luck in your school and quarantine." Drish Java says, "Hi, you reminded me of an old friend with that." Drish, haven't heard that in a long time. Hope you're well. Take care. So, Lunabi says, "So, Toby, if you have too much money and need to quickly spend it, hit me up and I will spend it for you." Yeah, that's funny. No, but for real, I really do like making videos, especially about. I think money is just an interesting topic to talk about because it's everybody understands money and everybody can is interested. I guess not everyone's interested in making money, but I think a lot of videos that I'm interested in that aren't like just for the sake of money isn't something that's trending ever really. It is what it is. It's something that like everybody knows about and most people would like more of. So that's why I feel like these money videos are cool to make. I used to make these videos where I went over this disassembled version of Pokemon, first Pokemon Red, and I made another video about Pokemon Gold. And this was fun too, just looking at like assembly. Well, time to uninstall Unity and download Unreal. I mean, so Unreal I think has more of a learning, it's a bit harder to learn because, actually, I never used Unreal, so that might not be true. I did download this course on how to work with Unreal Engine, but I never used it. I don't know. Maybe if you like Unreal, I think there is more of a steeper learning curve to building stuff with Unreal though. It seems to be a harder version of game development or a harder platform to kind of get with. And Unity definitely is more widely used and there's more support for it. But I'm sure if you have the time and the dedication, you can learn how to do things in Unreal Engine as well. If you want to build for PlayStation and Xbox, good luck. I think you can do it. All right, we are at 4:01. I guess this is a good time to stop, even though I was having a whole lot of fun. Thank y'all for tuning in, despite all of my technical difficulties. I really appreciate you guys all sticking around, or people sticking around, coming in, coming out. To summarize what we did this stream, went over the tic-tac-toe game. We got up to the point where we can actually, let me refresh to restart the game. And refreshing here, quick going back to the app, like state refreshes when the page is refreshed. But rendering the page is like within the lifetime of the application, this is gonna be rendered. We got to the point where we can now play the game with different turns. Hey, it's player X's turn. Let me not try to win. Let me try to get to the end. Oh, I already won. No, I'm so bad at tic-tac-toe. I keep winning by accident, or I keep beating myself. So we got to the point where we made the tic-tac-toe game version now. In the future stream, I want to kind of add like a multiplayer or an AI aspect, as well as an undo function so that we can go back in the game. And then we just talked about life, talked about my experience, and I got to chat with some of y'all, and I really appreciate it. Streaming is fun, a whole lot of fun, and I hope to keep doing this in the future and interact with more of you guys and just making more dope content. My next video hopefully drops this week, and it's gonna be cool. So thank y'all for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and stay safe during this time, and peace out. I will catch y'all in the next video.